My name is Johnson. I was just an ordinary guy in his 30s working a 9-to-5 job in the city. Now I'm working at a factory in a remote place in rural Nebraska where even buses rarely come. Why am I talking in the past tense? Well, up until last month, I was working hard in a prestigious office building in New York City and was on the fast track to success. Everyone believed I was going to make it big, and I had no doubt that I'd be in an executive position one day. However, I had a rival. His name was Mike, and he and I were always competing for the top sales spot. I thought we could have a friendly rivalry, thinking we could build a good relationship. But Mike didn't see it that way. To him, I was just an obstacle he wanted out of the way. So he set me up. He pinned a huge mistake on me. Even though it was later discovered to be a misunderstanding, the trust I had once earned was lost. Gradually, everyone began distancing themselves from me, and the boss only favored Mike. Before I knew it, I was transferred to this backwoods factory in Nebraska. On paper, I'm the factory manager, which is a respectable position, but it's still a demotion. Honestly, it was a shock. Factory managers who are transferred from the HQ only get bad reputations. Plus, I have no experience in factory work, so I can't do my job properly. I was labeled as a problematic boss who was transferred because of issues in the main office. Sigh. I returned to my company-provided house with a heavy heart. The pay isn't too bad. Being a factory manager and living in company housing means I can save more money. But the sense of fulfillment is gone. Every day, I just bow to the experienced factory workers and try to handle tasks I've never done before without any guidance. Honestly, it's tough, and I've thought about quitting. But if I quit, it would mean that I lost to Mike. I absolutely hate that thought, so I'm clinging to this job. But I must have been really tired. I realized I left my front door unlocked. Darn, I forgot to lock it. There's nothing valuable in my place to steal, but still, I was careless. I went inside thinking that I should be more careful. But what I saw was beyond my wildest expectations, a real shocker. Lo and behold, there were a woman's shoes, just thrown off haphazardly. Not just that. There's a washing machine right next to the entrance, and some woman's clothes were carelessly thrown over it. It looked like she was going to put them in the machine but got distracted halfway. And beyond the washing machine, in the corridor, are they stockings, laid out almost like signposts. Seeing the woman's clothes, I hurriedly checked my apartment number. Did I get the wrong room? But no, this is definitely unit 305, the one I'm renting. What the heck is going on? Confused, I stepped inside and suddenly exclaimed, "Whoa!" In the bathroom area, a woman was lying down. I couldn't understand what was happening. I checked the apartment number again. No mistake. This is my apartment. And the woman, was she unconscious? No, she seemed asleep. Why was a woman sleeping here? Anyway, I can't just let someone lie here, or I might be suspected of something. I thought so, but then I was like, wait, what? I realized something right there. Her face was extremely pale. She's breathing heavily and seems to be in pain. The moaning woman showed no sign of getting up, so I cautiously approached her. She looks to be in her early 20s. She seemed familiar. Maybe she works at the same factory as I do. Upon a closer look, her face is pale, yet she appears to be burning up. Touching her cheek, it's scorching hot. She seems to be really unwell, probably running a fever. When one has a fever, they can feel out of it, and she probably tried to change and collapsed midway. I've experienced it before. When you have a fever, every ounce of energy goes into resting. I remember coming home, only washing my hands, and collapsing on my bed. I covered her with my jacket and then gently shook her shoulder. "Hey, are you okay?" Despite the chaos earlier, I was surprisingly calm now. She looked so young to me. There are no teenagers working at our factory. So, I knew she's in her 20s, but she looked so young that she could easily be mistaken for a college student. Seeing her in that state, I was more concerned about her well-being than anything else. Especially given that she couldn't even recognize that she was in the wrong room. She must have been really ill. If she had been dressed, I would have called an ambulance without a second thought. After calling out to her several times, she finally came to. She looked at me, dazed, and our eyes met. Why is the factory manager here? This is my room. It's a bit awkward for me like this." When I pointed it out, she slowly grasped the situation. "Oh my God, can't blame her. I'm sorry, I've caused you trouble. You okay? You seem to have a fever." As I worried, asked the woman, now known as Mary, about what happened. She said her room was 205. She probably got on the wrong floor when she took the elevator, and being dizzy from the fever, she entered my room, which I had forgotten to lock. The apartment complex has the same layout for everyone, and neither Mary nor I leave much of anything in the hallway. So, tired Mary took a short nap without noticing the change in the room. It seems that Mary entered my room about 10 minutes before I got back. I thought she had passed out, but she was just taking a break. "I'm really sorry. I can't believe I..." "Do you want me to call an ambulance? You seem pretty out of it." No, I don't want to cause any more trouble. It's just a cold, and calling an ambulance seems a bit much." She tried to stand up, but she was wobbly and unsteady. "You live alone in the apartment complex, right? I can't send you home alone at night in this condition. You don't have to if you don't want to, but maybe you should rest a bit." Given her unsteady state, even Mary herself felt the danger. She decided to take a break in my room. It is understandable to be nerve-wracking if you are in a stranger's room when you wake up. I don't have any ulterior motives, but to help her relax a bit, I placed my cell phone right in front of her. I didn't take any photos or anything like that. If you're worried, you can check the saved photos. It's okay. That sounds even more suspicious. Chuckling awkwardly, I handed her a thermometer to check her temperature. It read 102 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a high fever. She might need to rest as soon as possible. I decided to take her home as her dizziness subsided and she became a bit more lucid. "It's just one floor below, though." "Thank you so much. I'll come by to thank you properly another day," she said politely before heading back to her room. To me, she seemed young. Well, anyone in their 20s would seem young to someone in their late 30s like me. She appeared to be putting on a brave face, and I worried that she might be pushing herself too hard. That incident left a strong impression of her on me. A week later, on my day off, Mary came to visit my apartment. She brought a box of cookies as a gift. I wanted to apologize for the trouble. "No worries. It was an emergency situation. Are you feeling better now?" "Yes, thanks to you. Turns out it was just a cold. Please take care of yourself too, Johnson." She said so and left. It wasn't really appropriate to invite her to stay and chat, as she was just recovering from being ill. But from that point on, my rather gloomy life began to change for the better. Every time when Mary saw me at the factory, she greeted me cheerfully with a big smile. "Hi, Johnson. How are you today?" Apparently, she had always been a bit hesitant to talk to me because I always seemed so busy and stressed out. But now, it seemed she started trusting me more. And thanks to Mary's approach, the way the rest of the staff treated me also began to change. Especially the seasoned workers. Their attitude towards me did a complete 180. This factory, somewhat reminiscent of a small factory in a rural area, had only a few workers. Because of that, the workers were very close, almost like family. Before, there seemed to be an invisible barrier between me and the rest, but soon, they started offering me coffee, and the baseless rumors about me stopped. We even began to chat casually, which surprised me. Because, to be honest, my work performance wasn't that great. I decided to ask a veteran worker, Joe, about it. "You helped Mary, right?" "What?" Mary told us. "She said you're not like the rumors made you out to be." According to Joe, Mary, being the youngest worker at the factory, was beloved by all. That's why her words had such an impact on him. "Sorry about before. Before you were assigned here, some guy from headquarters spread all these bad rumors about you. We thought there must be some truth to them and became wary of you." I was shocked. Turns out, the one who framed me, Mike, had spread rumors even here. Joe didn't know Mike by name, but from the description, it was definitely him. I sighed and explained my side of the story to Joe. How I was sidelined from my promising career path and ended up here because of Mike's schemes. While I was talking, I suddenly heard a voice from behind me. "What? That's horrible." Turning around, I saw Mary, her clothes stained with oil. She seemed to have overheard our conversation. "You should get back at that guy, Johnson." "Haha, you're surprisingly fierce, but it's impossible. I'm just a factory manager now. No one would listen to me." "Johnson is so slow at learning the ropes, isn't he?" Mocked by Joe, I found myself at a loss for words. It's been known among the workers that I hadn't been properly trained lately. I've been gradually getting the hang of my duties, but it's true I've still been holding the team back. So, if I talked to someone higher up, they'd listen. Well, maybe. I said that half-jokingly. It's unthinkable that someone above me would intervene on my behalf. That's what I believed, anyway. But, to my surprise, my joke became reality. A few weeks after our conversation, the CEO of the company unexpectedly showed up at the factory. It's incredibly rare for the CEO to come to such a remote place like this. Usually, it's only up to the level of a department head. So, I was seriously flustered. Did I screw up big time to have the CEO come down here? I felt absolutely crushed, but as soon as the CEO arrived, he said, "I'm sorry, Johnson, you've been treated unfairly." He bowed his head to me. What? Also, I was shocked. I listened to what the CEO had to say. Apparently, he'd received a report from someone about Mike's wrongdoing. Upon investigation, it was revealed that Mike had been maliciously sabotaging my performance evaluations and stealing credit from other employees. I had always thought of Mike as competent, but it turns out he was just stealing others' achievements. Mike is currently suspended. We're considering disciplinary actions, but first, we want to sort out your situation. Ideally, I'd like to transfer you back to the head office immediately. Hold on a second. I interrupted the CEO. Because I thought he wanted to transfer me back. "Sir, I want to stay here." "What? I've just started to get the hang of things here and earn some recognition. Sure, I'm not perfect yet, but even Joe has told me that I've finally made the grade." Back at the head office, I was solely focused on climbing the corporate ladder. I used to think that the only proof of being acknowledged was to move up. But there's more to it: the importance of building relationships, being genuinely acknowledged by our colleagues. These are things I probably wouldn't feel at the head office. Without realizing, I had grown fond of everyone at this rural factory and the environment here. So, I wasn't ready to leave just yet. Besides, the head office didn't seem all that appealing anymore. Especially since they failed to spot Mike's deceit. Rather than hustling in the high-turnover environment of the head office, I wanted to settle here. That's my honest feeling now. I'll give it my all right here. Once I firmly conveyed my wish to the CEO, the transfer was off the table. The CEO left after saying, keep up the good work. But a question started to nag at me. I can forgive what Mike did, but who reported him? Someone with a grudge. Lost in thought, someone tapped on my shoulder. It was Mary. Hey Johnson, how are you? Good, thanks. How did it go? Did that guy Mike, who framed you, get punished? When Mary asked me that, I was taken aback. I wondered how she knew about that. My face must have given away my surprise. Mary laughed. I told my dad, "You get transferred here by a bad employee at the headquarters." Your dad? Yes, my dad is the CEO who was here earlier. What? I couldn't help but shout in surprise. Seeing my reaction, Mary laughed out loud. Haha, only you didn't know. The CEO's daughter. Which means you are an heiress, but shouldn't you be working at the headquarters? Why are you here at this factory? I was utterly baffled. Mary then explained the situation. She's not good at administrative tasks, especially dislikes computers. Unusual for a woman, she loves tinkering with machines and was planning to work at another company's factory. But her father, the CEO, strongly opposed it, saying, "Factories can be dangerous with frequent injuries. If you want to work with machines, then work at our factory." That's how she ended up working at this factory, which was run by a friend of the CEO. By the way, that friend is the guy who always teases me, Joe. No wonder she calls him so closely. My dad probably thought I'd leave this remote place quickly, but I've always wanted to live in the countryside, so I settled right in. She continued with a chuckle. You were kind to me when I had a fever and made adjustments so I wouldn't overexert myself. Not just for me, but you also considered the well-being of other workers. Thanks to you, everyone says it's easier to work here now. This made me feel mixed emotions. Injuries and accident are likely to occur in factories. If something happened, the procedures for workers' compensation are troublesome. This is also one of the reasons why I'm concerned about it. It might be a bit self-serving, but if it makes it easier for the workers, well, it's okay. That's why I talked to my dad about you. It was my way of thanking him for helping me when I had the fever. I could only shrug with her words. It's quite the hefty way of expressing gratitude, but if that's how she feels, I'm happy. Although I'm a little worried that the CEO might hear about future issues. But I declared in front of the CEO that I want to work here. Half-hearted results won't cut it. For the sake of those who believed in me, I'll work even harder. And with that determination, 5 years have passed. Now I'm a middle-aged factory manager in my 40s. The once rundown factory underwent several renovations in these 5 years, and now it's a cleaner environment with more workers. The costs went up, but the productivity doubled. Thankfully, the factory turnaround was a success. It wasn't just my effort. Thanks to Joe, and of course, Mary's encouragement. Because this factory has a lot of Mary fans. When she says, "Let's do our best," everyone works incredibly hard. Well, me included. Even after 5 years, she's still a bit clumsy, often tripping or getting her face dirty with grease. Yet, her positivity has been a big help. And I respect her as an individual. Simply put, I've grown fond of her. I mean, who could blame me? Her smile is charming, and well, I've seen her underwear in those moments. What color is it today? Any guy would wonder. She's constantly on my mind. Man, I'm pathetic. I've never even been able to ask her out on a date. But today is different for me. I've felt this way for 5 years, and today I finally mustered up the courage to ask her out for dinner. But, is this a date? It is a date, right? Finally. It was pretty obvious what I was getting at. And it wasn't just her who figured it out. The whole factory knew. Am I really that transparent? Well, if you keep looking at her like that, it's obvious. I was so embarrassed. I thought, there's nothing more embarrassing than this, and confessed to her without even waiting for our date. I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? When I said that, she smiled and replied, yes. I've always remembered how you didn't take advantage of me when I was vulnerable in your apartment. Instead, you were genuinely concerned. Wait, take advantage? Well, wouldn't most find that situation risky. I was really lucky. I agree with her, but hearing it out loud was unsettling. Probably just the youthful impulsiveness talking, but that youth can be blinding. I always felt I need to be there to protect her. With that thought, we dated and eventually got married. We had a tight-knit workplace, so everyone congratulated us. Now, Mary is 28 years old and expecting. At first, I regretted being relocated to Nebraska, but now I see it's not so bad. Probably owe it all to Mary's positive outlook. Freed from the hustle and bustle of New York, now we get to spend quality time together. We're expecting our child next month, so our family is growing. I look forward to that as I head to work today. Hope you enjoyed this little story. Subscribing to our channel really motivates us to create more content. See you in the next video.